before we start getting into the nuts and bolts of 3D Studio Max and really, which buttons we're pressing, what we're doing, what are the processes, so on and so forth, I think it's important that what we start to look at is what we call the visualization workflow. Okay, 3D Studio Max is part of a chain of tools. I'll grant you it's a very large part of that chain of tools, but it is still a part. So what we would start off with is probably something like this, which is our reference material. And this is a sort of engineering drawings. It's an elevation of a house. You can see here we've got the front elevation and we've got a couple of sides and a back elevation. And we would use that as reference material inside of 3D Studio Max to then create a 3D model. Okay, so this is a screenshot of the model. And you can see here that what we've got is all of the data and the information that we need. We've got we can see the front of the house, we can see the garage, we can see the roof section. If we come back here and we look at this front elevation, we look specifically over here, you can see that our 3D model matches exactly what our reference material was. Once we've created a 3D model, what we'll probably then do is go ahead and just do some lighting on it. So we've got a lighting solution here from the daylight system in 3D Studio, and you can see it's a very realistic look and feel. You can see we've got areas of darker shadow, areas of lighter shadow. This indicates where we've got sort of reflected light coming up from the surface of the ground, so on and so forth. Really very, very realistic in the look and feel. And we can also see some of the details creeping in there. Once we've got a lighting solution that we're kind of happy with, what we're probably then going to do is move straight in and put what are called materials onto this object, onto our model. And you can see here now we've taken this up one step further. We've got what looks like brick, we've got tiles on the roof, we've got some reflection in the glass. Everything's beginning to look that one level above where it was before and that little bit more realistic. Once we've done this and we've got our render, pretty much that's all we're going to be doing in 3D Studio Max. We then take it to the next stage, which is the finishing stage, which is probably done in a program like Adobe Photoshop, where we then take that model, we take that render, and you can see pretty much what we would have had was about this amount of information. And we take that and we add photographic elements into it. So we've got a photographic foreground, we've got photographic trees in the background, photographic house in the background, and a photographic sky as well. And what that does is that just sort of raises a level and it finishes off our work, our piece of work. And we can hand that over to the client and they can use that in any which way they want. So really, that's our workflow. We start all the way from back here, from our reference material, we then model, we then light, we then put materials on, and we then render. And then that creates us our final image that can then be polished. So really what we're going to be doing with these tutorials is we're going to be learning about the nuts and bolts of each part of that production pipeline, that visualization workflow, and then right at the very end we're going to be going through and doing an entire project where we build a house very similar to this one, if not this one indeed. And what we'll be doing with that is we'll build the model, we'll bring the reference in, we'll do the whole 9 yards. And what it'll do is it'll help show you each step of the workflow. So without further ado, I'll minimize that and let's get on.